We're rolling into week 12, and we finally get to see one of these rookie running backs in action, but it's under a limited capacity, but still, it's more than what we're used to seeing. Jonathon Brooks makes his debut this week, week 12, against the Kansas City Chiefs. Miles Sanders is officially out. He's going to take over that role or some sort of role in the offense with Chuba Hubbard getting most of the carries. But we're going to go over whether or not you need him for fantasy football this week, beyond. We're just doing the deep dive like we always do. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing deep dives every day on the trending players to see whether or not you need these players for fantasy football. You make a decision after you look at the analytics, everything else, whether you need to do the deeds or not. On top of that, we're doing deep dives off the waiver wire. On top of that, we're using these videos to help you set your lineup by going over the matchups. The must-start video will be out today. Ask your questions in the comment section there. Click that subscribe button. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching. If you're a fan of Ric Flair, do not disappoint him. He's always watching. But now's the time to get excited about Jonathon Brooks. Miles Sanders is officially out. And the thing about Miles Sanders and Jonathon Brooks is one thing. Jonathon Brooks is going to have to ramp up with this being his debut, coming back from an injury. We have to see what the touches are going to look like. Obviously, there's probably going to be a pitch count there. However, Miles Sanders, default, his workload is pretty much a pitch count. So that's something to look at. And Jonathon Brooks, talent-wise, kind of an upgrade over Miles Sanders, even though this will be our first ever NFL game without a true training camp. That being said, this is something to note, something to pay attention to. We all know this. But I found this on the internet. Miles Sanders is week to week, and they're not talking about this like crazy. This is from a news source. This lady works for the news somewhere in that area. And this is not being broadcasted on the fantasy sites or anything. I'm trying to look that up. It probably is somewhere. But he's week to week. Miles Sanders is looking to be out for a bit. Not just this game, but week to week. Week to week also means month to month sometimes. Because we thought his season was done when that injury happened. And they're saying it's not as bad, be back sooner than later. Now reports, November 20th, 2 days ago. Well, you're watching it, it's 3 days ago. He's week to week. He's probably not going to be out next week. Maybe. He's going to be questionable going in the week. We'll see. But he's week to week, so this could be a long-term thing with him being out. Going back to college, we were playing behind Bijan Robinson, but when we got our opportunity in 2023, 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. We were letting it rip, catching the ball out of the backfield. We were using the slot a little bit. 63 missed tackles forced. Would have been more, but we tore our ACL. Slowed things down a little bit. I can definitely say that. But we were also dominant. We were looking good on the field. We racked up multiple 100-yard games. We had a 200-yard game there. That is what you expect from a running back who was drafted in the second round. Tore his ACL in November, so we did not get to see him work out the combine. We didn't really get to see him work out at training camp. We're just now seeing him work out in practice, and he's finally going to have his debut this week. Jonathon Brooks couldn't be at the combine, all that stuff, going into the NFL draft. Still, first running back selected, second round. So that being said, if it weren't for the ACL, he would have been drafted in the first round, because that's an ACL discount in the second round. You're looking at first round caliber running back, and there's also probably talks that other teams were interested in drafting him around this range, or they would not have pulled the trigger. They would have waited another round or so. Jonathon Brooks, when you look at this running back class, you look at his talent, he is way more talented than most running backs in this class, if not all of them. Here is a gap between him and the other running backs for sure. He's got good size to him. He's got good wiggle. He's got good speed. He's got good burst. He's got good patience. He catches the ball out of the backfield. There's a difference between him and the other running backs. This isn't like a jabroni rookie running back. This isn't like your average rookie run. This is a good rookie running back that's going to get the opportunity to play soon. This is a rookie running back that once he's up to speed, and it might take longer than realized than what we want, that's going to do some things on the field. This isn't like just a ho-hum running back. This is a running back that has some supreme talent on the field. He can make guys miss. He's got good wiggle in the second level. This is a guy that's very explosive with good size. Chuba Hubbard's the man, though. Notice we had not mentioned him stealing workload from him, siphoning any workload from Chuba Hubbard. And a lot of people are saying, why risk Brooks for Chuba Hubbard on the back end of the season? Well, you got Chuba Hubbard locked in for next year, and your season's over. So why not explore what you got with Jonathon Brooks? Get him some experience. You don't have a training camp under him, really, because we're coming back from the ACL. Why not throw him in there for a couple series here and there? Let him get that experience. Let him get some of that workload so we get a good idea of what we can work on when we go into the 2025 season. Chuba Hubbard, though, we're good to go. We're golden. Well, what's it for? What's it for? Why not stack the deck for 2025? And this team is on record with how the touches are distributed. They like to have a meat shield for Chuba Hubbard. While Miles Sanders is out, Jonathon Brooks is going to be a meat shield for Chuba Hubbard because they do not like doing the Kyron Williams approach by overloading the running backs. Chuba Hubbard's the man. He's been a man all season. We told you to draft Chuba Hubbard. On top of that, if you draft Jonathon Brooks, we told you to draft Chuba Hubbard with him because the discount associated with that, even with Jonathon Brooks coming back at the earlier timetable, like a lot of people were projecting, you still would have had top-tier workload out of Chuba Hubbard over the first half of the season. Chuba Hubbard should be on your team if you drafted Jonathon Brooks that early. He really should be. That's just a simple move to make because you knew he was going to be out, and you knew that Chuba Hubbard was looking good the year prior, and he was so cheap at a discount, and Chuba was getting it done. He's still getting it done, but last year he was getting it done, and he's been solid. He's cheap in Dynasty, RB22 in Dynasty right now, versus some of the other running backs at similar age, similar production. He's cheap for the production. That being said, you may want to look at him in Dynasty. We like Chuba Hubbard. 12.9 PPR fantasy points over the last 2 seasons. 5 RB1 weeks on the season. 2 RB2 weeks. He's almost guaranteed to give you double-digit PPR fantasy production. We're looking at the workload here. 818 yards. He's going to surpass 1,000 yards on the season. Only 2 fumbles on the year. 5.1 yards per carry. He's getting 161 rushing attempts. He's not getting overworked. He's not getting a ton of the work. He's getting used in the right facet at 67% of teams' rushing attempts. So the other 30% is going to go to like Jonathon Brooks and maybe an ancillary running back. That's very good. That's very good. Like Kyron Williams is getting almost 100% of them. Like 90-some% of the team's rushing attempts. Miles Sanders was getting 16. Mike Boone got some as well. We're going to see Jonathon Brooks get around 30% of the rushing attempts. Maybe 20, 25. Maybe they up Hubbard's role. Maybe they test things out with Jonathon Brooks. I imagine what's going to happen is they're going to roll Brooks out, see how he looks, give him a little taste. It's going to be a Chuba Hubbard show. That's probably what's going to happen over these next few weeks. They're going to see what's happening. Chuba Hubbard's going to rock around a 70% touch share out of the backfield, and that's what we're going to see with the rushing attempts. Definitely going to see that. But Miles Sanders, look at this when it comes to the routes. We pulled this up before. He averages about 11 to 12 routes per game. And there's some games he'll hit 21. There's some games he'll be around 15, 14. This is important for Jonathon Brooks because he's very good in the passing game. He's better at catching the ball out of the backfield than Miles Sanders. At least projected to be. And at least when he's ramped up for the NFL, full camp and everything under his belt, he will be. So he should be more dominant, seeing more targets, more opportunities out of the passing game than Miles Sanders with that work rate of routes. And I don't see why you wouldn't get that, considering they want to see what they have in Jonathon Brooks. And on top of that, talent-wise, there's more talent here with Jonathon Brooks than Miles Sanders. Upside galore with them too, which could tap into being more. He can be productive with that is what I'm saying. He could surprise you with that. That is the thing. A lot of people will naysay because they see Chuba Hubbard, but Miles Sanders is averaging 3.7 yards per carry. Not super elusive. It's just ho-hum, horrible vision. Good pop in the step. If Jonathon Brooks can tap into that upside, he's a more talented runner. No one was looking at Miles Sanders as a top-tier back coming out of college, like Jonathon Brooks, like a must-get guy. This could be a thing. This could be a thing here. This could be very important. This is the numbers that I'm looking at for Jonathon Brooks and how he could hit for you in the long term for the rest of the season. And we're looking at the opportunity share. Miles Sanders, 12%, but it's up and down per game. But the target share, 8%, 25 targets, 10 less targets compared to Chuba Hubbard. It's because he's getting work in the passing game. And Jonathon Brooks will get work in the passing game. That's where he's going to be good at. But that's where you can put up fantasy points. And if you get Jonathon Brooks in open space, go look at the practice highlights. They're basic practice highlights, but you'll see the pop in the step. You'll see that. It's going to be a little something different. And he could pop one off. That's what we're saying. He's a stash. He's a handcuff. He's an upside play. He's a lottery ticket. He's a meme coin. I do not know how to simplify it even more for you. Don't be expecting me to tout him as an RB1 off the rip. I'm actually being kind of conservative with how I'm talking about him. But a lot of people do not understand what I'm talking about. I do not know why. But we look at the schedule. We got to get by the Chiefs first. We got to get by that bad matchup. Ain't a great matchup. We got the Bucs coming up. Ball should be flying in that game. We got the Eagles coming up on the road. That's an interesting one. But we got the Cowboys and Cardinals after that. Fantasy playoffs. Cowboys matchup. What if something happens to Chuba? What if something happens to Chuba and they got to roll the dice with Jonathon Brooks? They can use Jonathon Brooks a little bit more too because they got Chuba locked up. They can definitely do that too. Like, if something happens, they got to use Brooks more. They're locked in with Chuba. They got him next year. They ain't got to worry. They got him locked in. They got a tandem here. And they want to test out this tandem because they like to use two running backs out of the backfield. It ain't going to be happening against the Chiefs, though. Chiefs are locked down. They're going to lock down this run game. Chuba may not be optimal this week, but you're probably going to have to start him anyways because there's 6 teams on bye. That's going to impact you. But the Chiefs, out of the last 3 weeks, 18.4% less than league average when it comes to allowing fantasy points to running backs, 34% less than league average on the season. The only running backs that hit on them, James Cook, week 11, 19.7 PPR fantasy points, Rashad White, 12.5, Alvin Kamara, 12.6, Bijan Robinson, 13.2, Justice Hill, 11.5. All those running backs are used heavily catching the ball out of the backfield because this team locks down the run game and they lock down the perimeter in the passing game, so teams got to get creative against them. This could actually make Jonathon Brooks a little bit sneaky because they got to get sneaky with how they move the rock, how creative they can work things around. So maybe they have both running backs out there and they're using them in the passing game and they're just getting the ball out quick to them, JT Sanders, somebody over the middle, maybe a little Xavier Legette, maybe something like that. Adam Thielen's questionable. Maybe he'll be in that matchup. But when you look at this, it's very dangerous for both running backs in fantasy. Chuba, you're kind of just throwing him out there because he's Chuba. And if you're not, it's because you're blessed. Not many people are blessed that much at running back. So you know what you got to do with Chuba. And you're looking at Jonathon Brooks and whether or not to start him this week. And when you're looking at him, it's him versus the other handcuff running backs. Pick your poison here because all of them are dart throws. They're not getting enough touches to really project anything. You can look at the matchup. But overall, when you're getting so few touches, it's pretty much can you break one off? It's not really the matchup. It's are you going to be lucky enough to get a broken play in front of you or get that goal line look or get a couple passes out of the backfield type deal. That is what it is. It's a bad matchup. It's his debut. You do not know the touch load. I can say the same thing about Devin Singletary. We got a backup quarterback in there. Dylan Labe, kind of similar, but better situation. Still bad matchup. Samaje Perine against the Panthers. That's a fun one. But again, not enough workload to really guarantee anything. Gus Edwards, not really using the passing game. Cam Akers is getting about 10 touches a game, but not a great matchup. Julius Chestnut, he's Julius Chestnut. Audric Estime, I think you got burned by him last week, but it is against the Raiders. Trey Benson's explosive, but not getting enough touches to feel good. Jalen Wright, same boat as Jonathon Brooks and Trey Benson. Honestly, you're just picking your poison with the backup running backs. I can definitely say you're starting him over Zeke, Sincere McCormick. I don't know about Amari DiMiccato. That's kind of a gamble play. It's kind of like in the same light. I would have Amari DiMiccato ahead of Zeke. I would definitely do that. and I had a Sincere McCormick, I get it, the Raiders situation, but I would definitely do that. Justice Hill catching some random passes out of the backfield. That's something to look at. It's a luck play. It's a luck play. Pick your poison. He's around RB40 range. Technically, in most leagues, not startable for most teams. However, there's somebody out there that could probably use him in your league. 1 out of 12 teams would love to use Jonathon Brooks, probably. 1 out of 12. That's what you're probably looking at because he's ranked in the top 50 easy, top 45 to 40 range. That's where Jonathon Brooks is. Tough matchup, debut, sharing the workload, only going to get a little bit of the pie to eat. But a lot of you guys are starting these running backs because you're losing your starter due to bye weeks. So you got to do what you got to do. You don't need them or you're not going to start them. Tough matchup. You can't get them anyways. So you're not going to worry about it. And that's okay. And you know what? Most of the time, I'm probably not going to start them either. I'm probably just going to watch them. I'm going to have them stashed. You do need to have them stashed. And I am getting a lot of people that are saying that they're just going to start them. They're going to throw them in. They're going to see what happens. They're hurting. They're decimated. I'm catching a lot of statements like that. They're starting Jonathon Brooks because they're losing all their running backs due to the bye weeks and injuries and everything else. They're hurting that much. And I've had a lot of questions with people with lineups that are decimated due to these bye weeks. This is the random week of the year where you're going to catch that. Most weeks where the bye weeks are normal, you're less likely to start Jonathon Brooks or catch people that are going to start Jonathon Brooks. But if you got to, you got to. You know the odds with this. They're not great. More likely you're just watching him on your bench. You got him stashed. But Miles Sanders is week to week. We got tons of upside here with Jonathon Brooks. Anything goes here. He's going to be used catching passes out of the backfield. He's good in the passing game. There's a lot of upside with him. Let me know what you're doing in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.